Welcome home, Bitcoin truth seekers. It is Friday, February 24th. It's 11:22 a.m. here in the Arizona desert. And it's quite a Friday. Market's dumping, Bitcoin's dumping, alts are kind of dumping. Some things are making moves up. Maybe we're seeing a bounce here. Let's check it out. Let's see what we see. I will mention that many are mentioning there's a CME gap at like 19,000 something, that maybe this would be an opportunity to fill. I don't know. I find the CME gaps kind of retarded. I don't personally believe in them, but they do seem to fill, even if just eventually somebody finds a spot in the chart where they can say, look, it filled. Jury for me is out on CME gaps, but some do say there's one that insists we have to go to 19,600 or something. Anyway, if it was going to happen, this might be the day that it happens. Or overall, if we don't get some pickup in the crypto market over the weekend, definitely it could be a gradual decline to that, and hopefully that would be a bounce spot. Well, anyway, just thought I'd throw it out there. So for doomers, you might get your wish, right? It could happen. So BitcoinDailyView.com has always got more for you there. Why is the market dumping? Well, I guess it really comes down to the PCE number. PCE numbers, personal income spending, PCE. The numbers were not, they were a little bit worse than would be expected. So without going through them all, because they're dreadfully boring, basically, having read some articles on this and listened to some commentary, I know there's mixed bags on why, the PCE is not as good as we might think it is. Honestly, I think also it kind of gets tied to like taxes, not like that hasn't been as much tax revenue. A lot goes into it. I don't understand it all. But to me, it honestly seems like less people are working. They're making less money. And inflation is stopping people from buying things. I mean, it basically kind of, but they have to buy things. So consumer credit's raising, and there's so much that goes into it. You probably understand it better than I do, but in general, also do you even trust these numbers? And then also the commentary, even some, well-meaning, knowledgeable commentary I sometimes think is, cultish, and it's not really seeing the big picture. I just think it means that, everything sucks. And how about that? We're heading towards a recession if we're kind of already in it. I don't know if you buy eggs or do things like that, or pay for electricity to your house, or how to get new tires any recently, or anything like that, or if you have your oil changed or whatever, or buy some protein powder. Man, hyperinflation is real AF, and I think that basically is what those PCE numbers not being what they were expected to be, being worse. I think it's just things are expensive, consumer debt's going up, tax revenue is going down because people aren't working, they're not making any money, or not as much money. I think it's a big deal there. I think personal profit, business profit is down, so therefore those numbers aren't that great. Anyway, interesting moment, and I think it's quite a conundrum for the forces that be, because how long can you manipulate the economy, etc., when you can't even read the numbers to say what you'd like them to say. So sorry about that. My dog is coughing. Sorry. It sounds terrible, but it's not. It's just a Chihuahua thing. Anyway, looking at the Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P 500. Sorry about the dog coughing. When Chihuahuas get old, their trachea gets weak and they tend to cough sometimes. So anyway, but she's fine. Just sounds like awful. Anyway, Dow, Nasdaq, S&P 500, all down over 1%. So Dow down 1.23, Nasdaq down 1.97, S&P 500 down 1.37. That's pretty darn drastic. Kind of expected with the PCE numbers not coming in as good as, well, worse than was expected. I think people were kind of seeing this in the futures last night. It seems like some people kind of expected it, whether by intuition or futures or whatever. But definitely S&P 500 totally hammered today. And what I wanted to mention, we're looking at, even though Bitcoin's on the way down too, are we seeing signs of decoupling? I think this might be a weekend or a day that we actually maybe get even more confirmation of that if it happens, and we'll take a look at that as we walk through. But anyway, looking at the S&P 500, except for very few companies, in general, pretty jacked, So anyway, S&P 500 officially just pretty darn jacked, not looking too happy. So that's the traditional markets. Now here's crypto market in squares. Oh, darn it, I hate this stupid ad. Go away. Bam. It's half the screen. Anyway, as you can see, pretty much the only thing in the green are a noticeable amount of alts, and I'm seeing more start to turn green. Why I think we're having a bit of a balance, because there was very few alts green. Now we're starting to see some alts in the green. So we'll look at Bitcoin in the top 100 and kind of see how things are panning out. Looking at Bitcoin trading volume explicitly, 11 billion right now. Last 24 hours. That's really not too bad. Looking at the markets, looking at stuff, with the PCE numbers not coming in as good as expected, for whatever reason, that causes the DXY to just lose its friggin' mind and pump today. And I think one of the things that's definitely causing a little bit of shakiness in the market is Scrumper. That'll do. Okay. Is if I fire up a ray right here, you can kind of see where ray, horizontal ray is right here. Boom. We are about to maybe, either find resistance on a current, either resistance or support right here. And that could change the nature of things. We could start to see already the DXY is breaking out of a downward channel. Now it's beginning to break above, a area of support and resistance. So definitely, if we go up and then come down, we find support on that, or just break through it and close, whatever. It's an interesting moment. I mean, DXY is just on fire, and I mean, really, I think like you can kind of forget about this downwards channel that we were looking at for quite a while. You can just sort of just remove all that mess, because honestly, I think that what you legit got to do at this point in time, honestly, is you got to just figure like, I'm starting right about here, like, there's your channel, there's a DXY, and as you can see, it's about to break, previous support resistance zone right there. So DXY on fire, and of course that's just absolutely killing the market. Oil today took a dump in the morning. Now it's recovering. As you can see, the buyers are pushing that price back up. So oil fighting for its ability, fighting for its price action there, which is kind of interesting. I'm watching oil, and this is a U.S. oil spot, and if you look, still those are higher lows, man. I think it's slowly working its way back up, and that would make sense, because it's just not going to stay that price very much longer. Not that I'm a doomsayer. I'm just saying if you're following geopolitics whatsoever, it's not going to stay there. So anyway, S&P 500, we were all very hopeful that it would break that 314. It did not. It got smacked down hard last couple of days. Right now, we're wicking almost to the 200 moving average. This really is bounce or not. I think if the S&P 500 loses that daily 200 moving average, it's just going to be kind of crappy. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner, as you can see, Bitcoin taking a serious dump today. But really, it's above the 200 and the 314. If it can hold this, if it can hold that 314, I mean, if it can hold about the 200 and the 314, especially if S&P 500 dumps below the 200, which is kind of doubtful that Bitcoin's going to stay up. I think we'll see what happens. Really, but we're in an interesting time. It's looked that way the last couple of days, and it still looks that way to me. Really, especially if Bitcoin can find a bounce in that 314 moving average, or not even hit it at all. If the S&P 500 can pull up, that'd be kind of nice. But regardless, we're seeing a difference right now. The S&P 500 is rejected off the daily 314, coming back down to the 200. Hopefully it bounces, but really Bitcoin stayed above the 200 and the 314, and it hasn't even really gotten that close to the 314 on the daily. So Bitcoin, are we decoupling? I mean, the market is so crazy that I know many people are just they just talk about 10-year yields and all this crap. And I understand, traditional market people, I get it, but at the same time, things happen, things change, I know a lot of people poo-poo it, but I would say the smart people that I tend to notice who have a positive track record are at least giving this an eye and saying it's something to note. And I'll go with that. Could we see a decoupling between traditional market and Bitcoin? And really, it kind of comes down to a decoupling between S&P 500 and Bitcoin being kind of mirrors of one another. If they kind of begin to go their own way, especially Bitcoin going in a positive way while the S&P is lagging, this is a game changer in the world. And don't let those, sad people steal your sparkle. All right. Something good could be happening. God forbid, for people don't believe it. Anyway, as an enlightened guy back when I was, here's the story. I was in Sedona once, and so in Arizona, and this truly holy man who doesn't live there anymore, he moved to Florida. This holy man retired to Florida, who lived in Sedona all of his life, really. He said to me, if all you've got is logic, you got nothing. Boom, there you go. So everybody who's got logic and says it's impossible that they decouple, you know what? You got nothing, and you're a sad person. Okay, with that said, gold. Gold breaking the 314 moving average on the daily, kind of sad. Gold dumping. It's been happening the last couple of days. Silver definitely lost to 314, lost to 200 today. Silver is just dumping. So anyway, this is an extremely crazy day in the market. Bitcoin's doing pretty darn well. Definitely holding better moving averages on the daily than gold and silver are. Neat stuff is happening. We're becoming a multipolar world, which is the norm in history rather than a unipolar world. And the markets are really reflecting the craziness of the moment. So anyway, this morning, Bitcoin definitely took a pretty hard dump. I mean, legendary longs got wrecked. Big sell pressure came in. I was watching liquidations, like $1.6 million long liquidated. Oof. I mean, anyway, pure carnage, liquidated. Bunch of shorts got wrecked when it picked up. Regardless, though, definitely caught a lot of people off the a lot of longs. They definitely caught a lot of longs off guard on that one. So Bitcoin, I'm sorry, SPX on the top, Bitcoin on the bottom. As you can see, SPX, we already went over this, but you can see a little bit more clearly here. SPX pumping recently, hit the 314 moving average, got rejected. We'll see if it bounces on the 200. But the big story here is Bitcoin broke to 200, broke to 314, dumped hard today. But looks like it's kind of finding support, and it did not even wick to the 314 moving average. This is a big deal. The charts look kind of the same. Yeah, they do. But those moving averages on the daily are entirely different worlds. You know, they really, really are. So, amen. Now, looking at exchange volume, like for the top 20 exchanges, starting to see some green exchanges now. They've been in the red most of the morning, pretty deep in the red, but Bitfinex is getting to be in the green, Bitstamp's in the green. I think those are big leverage exchanges, which would not surprise me if people are putting their longs in right now. Anyway, up Bit, 68% up. So anyway, we're seeing some stuff happen. Big exchanges beginning to see a change in direction. If you look at the 7-day graph here, you can see the little tail end of that. They're all starting to pick up. So definitely volume is picking up on the exchanges right now. So for spot trading. Now for derivatives. How's that looking? 50 billion on Binance for derivatives, down 11% last 24 hours. Not bad, not bad. Not all longs and shorts are dead yet. So anyway, Bitcoin coming in. Remember, it is 23,135. I do know some people are very, very convinced that the CMA futures gap must fill at 19.6 or 19.7. Amen. Maybe it will. This might be the weekend that you see that. But if not, whatever. I'm just saying. There's a case to be made, and statistically it does tend to fill more than not. But I do think that with a volatile asset, I think it fills by coincidence more than it necessarily fills by truth. Anyway, with that said, top 100 in general are kind of crappy, although Singularity and Optimism are in the green. Singularity, AGIX, I should just do a long on AGIX. And just retire, just forget about it, just go and do something else and just wait for my money. AGIX just will not stop recently, and Optimism is in the green. So we'll take a look at those before we check out of here. Longs versus shorts on Binance, where the big money is. Long 67%, short 32% for Bitcoin, and then for Ethereum 65% long, 34% short. So definitely a massive long bias for Bitcoin, especially. Now here's Bitcoin here, 5-minute chart. As you can see this morning, we had a big old dump that happened very, very quickly. And of course, my take on it is, let's just take a look at this a little bit closer here, get a forecast. So starting right about here, we dumped, I'm going to say right about there, 3.4% in 55 minutes, in like 1 hour. You can kind of say it started back here, but not really. This is the real powerful dump started right here. So 3.4%, kind of like a point, almost half a point percent difference, and it dumped 3%. And if we really kind of want to go like a little bit, go about here really, if you want it, and you can kind of say it dumped about 3.8% in 2 hours and 30 minutes. Anyway, pretty stout little dump there. Most of it happened rather quickly. Deliberate manipulation, in my opinion. I mean, people were stacked up and ready to go. Anyway, here's the thing. The squeeze indicator for the 5-minute chart does show that we're starting to ease off. I know it's very, very short price action, but really, I mean, the dump was very, very quick and then stopped also. So maybe it'll go further, but still, squeeze indicator is big. Sorry. Squeeze indicator beginning to turn positive. Also, directional index leaning towards positive now. Volume really cranked when it was dumping, and now the volume's gone down quite a lot. And oftentimes when I see that volume go down quite a lot like that, it seems almost obvious, but oftentimes it can mean a lot of things. You see how it plays out, but oftentimes I do see it where the big money is done with their manipulation and they just kind of step out. Volume goes very, very low, and that's when the retail traders will start to do their thing. So ultimately, if we do look at this, since the bottom of the dump here this wick, we ultimately are up. I know it's a 5-minute chart, but I think we're going to start trending back up. That's what the squeeze and the directional index do kind of show. If you look at a 45-minute chart for very immediate price action, you can see, let's see, you can see that the directional index here. Sorry, this thing gets a little bit hokey here. Directional index is kind of lessening. It's a little bit indecisive there. Let me get rid of this stuff here because it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, so we'll see. Directional index is a little bit hard to read right there. We'll see how it's going. 45-minute chart, you can definitely see that big volume come in. Now it's landed off. So kind of like it seems that like they kind of did what they wanted. Squeeze indicator could go either way. We might see more. We'll find out. We'll see. I mean, it's a scary spot to long right now. I'll admit I did a slight long just to kind of see, just to ride that up, because I think more likely than not we'll go up. If we go the wrong way, well, then whatever, I'll just stop out. But I have a feeling that we're probably turning around at this point. So anyway, the one thing that I do note here is this, and this is kind of like the sad face of the day. Bitcoin definitely did its dump, of course, but the red from the 4-hour chart, all the Madrid ribbons, the super guppy indicator, all the EMAs turned red. That's that red square, that red diamond is there. We broke below the 200 moving average in the 4-hour chart. That's not exactly bullish whatsoever. 4-hour chart, we'll see. We have yet to quite see if this thing is turning around on the 4-hour chart yet. Don't quite know. I think we'll see a like how you see here. And get like when it starts to like chill out, the squeeze turns like burgundy rather than a bright red. I think we might see a burgundy candle pretty darn soon. So we'll see what happens. The really like super great positive outcome that we might see is if Bitcoin does actually get back above that 4-hour 200 moving average and closes today. That would actually be pretty darn groovy. So anyway, this 4-hour candle below the 200 moving average. If we start flirting around down there, I mean, this is you can trade anything because you can always be shorting and such. But I don't want to see another break like that. Then we eventually break back up. I mean, whatever, we'll make money. But it's just, I would personally really, if I could wave my magic wand and make something happen, I would like to see it go up and kind of test it, and then just keep on moving. Basically, we don't need to be below the 400. The 4-hour chart does not need to be below the 200 moving average. That kind of sucks. And now let's check out the 4-hour chart for both AGIX, USDT. You can play it on KuCoin and Binance. Look on Binance where the volume is. Must be new there. Wow. AGIX, USDT. Let's try that on KuCoin. You've been there longer? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, geez, man. AGIX versus USDT. Thing's a monster. It's a 44-hour chart. It doesn't really even care. It's in a bit of a squeeze, bit of a tight range right now. But gosh, it kind of has upwards momentum, really, in a very slight way. Yeah, on the 45-minute chart, it lost its did it even lose its it didn't. It lost its 314 moving average this morning, but it wicked below the 200, but now it's basically in between. It's looking kind of sideways. I'm not going to do anything with this, but AGIX versus USDT, I mean, really holding very, very strong through this dump. Optimism versus USDT. Look on Binance what the volume is. Big wicks, definitely, probably took a lot of stops out there. But looking at this guy here, oh my goodness. I mean, big volume came in, pushed it around some for sure. But gosh, optimism hardly even phased by the I mean, yeah, big wicks for sure. But optimism, I mean, look at that channel. I'm going to watch this guy. I mean, crazy times right now, but we're kind of at the bottom of the channel. If these indicators start turning up, you get like a bright green candle on the squeeze, and watch the ADX turn up, and then the directional index start to get some, positive motion there. Interesting. One to watch. Optimism today versus USDT. Definitely one to watch. And I would say optimism versus BTC also. You only play it on Binance, but its chart's very strong too. It's actually even stronger. So really optimism versus BTC. I mean, if it's almost something you could, not financial advice from me, but you got higher lows, you got higher highs. Today's volatility kind of pushed it around a bit with wicks, but op versus BTC, optimism versus BTC hardly even cares. How about AGIX versus BTC? Yeah, it's been on Binance longer. So yeah, I was looking at the fib sequence a little while ago. It's bounced off the 618, good spot to do it. And even today with this volatility, it was recently above the .5, and it kind of dumped below it, but it's still above on the 45-minute chart. That's 200 and the 314. Looks like it needs to just chill. A lot of volume came in. AGIX versus BTC, definitely. This is one I'm not ready to get into it at this point, but there's a good case to be made. This guy may, continue. I think I was kind of charted it. What I'm kind of waiting for on this one here is I would like to see a array. Sorry about that. Horizontal array. I kind of want to see it get above, maybe like, somewhere in here. I'd like to see it get above, above that recent high. So we actually get kind of what you can kind of consider like a new higher high. These higher lows are looking good. Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Let's get a higher high. And I think this one definitely would probably can continue up. It's definitely been on fire recently. So anyways, that's that, quick news, UN vote, 7 countries that did not support Russia's withdrawal from Ukraine. And the ones that, where is it at? On Thursday, resolution, and the story about this whole story, yeah, India. India representing one of the largest populations, explained its abstention as follows. India, interesting. That's the whole point of the story. I wanted to point it out. Countries that we'd expect to support Russia certainly did, but India just basically being like, hey, we're out. We're going to absent. There was 32 countries that would abstentions. They just said, we're out. Interesting. India, their relationship with China and Russia, I do think is becoming more important to them than their relationship with America. That's fine, but big story. I'm really surprised that India didn't just go along with the tide. This is an incredible statement on their part. It is definitely nailing their colors to the mast, and definitely nailing their colors to the mast and saying like our future is more like BRICS, and or a relationship there is more important than here. And this is, if there ever was sort of a an omen or a sign that we're going to have a multipolar world. In fact, that we already do, and the Ukrainian conflict is just the shaking out of that reality. I think we just saw it. All right, so China. I have not read this yet. It's kind of big, but they put out a little note, I guess, like a statement to America: U.S. hegemony and its perils, political hegemony, military hegemony, economic hegemony, technological hegemony, cultural hegemony. Conclusion. I gotta read this. It looks interesting. I have not read it yet. And I'm not saying that I kissed the CCP's butt, or Z, I believe his name is. I forget the president guy's name over there, or whatever. I'll share this just because in the live chat, just because if you have interest, I'm going to read it just because ain't about agreeing with them. I'm not saying that there is, it's oftentimes we think that means that I agree. I don't necessarily agree with a lot about the Chinese government and the CCP and all that stuff. I don't, but having breezed through this rather quickly, I just think that it has a value to people in the West to realize that this statement that I went through it rather quickly, this article, I'm going to read it a little bit more carefully. Like it or not, like or not who wrote it, it has a value and it's worth checking out. The ontological incoherence of American imperial exceptionalism. I'm into American exceptionalism. I love my country. I certainly do. But I don't like Victoria Nuland, and I don't like her crew of four that did what they did recently and are going around talking about how proud they are of it, in great part by denying it. This lady here has been hitting the circuit and just speaking to anybody who will, any news shows that she can be on. So I do truly think that she is on the hot seat, and that's how psychopaths are. Narcissistic psychopaths, they never say they're sorry, they never admit that they're wrong. They are drugged to the gallows, screaming their innocence. And I think this basically, it's an article. I think it has a value. I'll share it in the live chat if you want to check it out. Like I say, I'm an American loving American. I really am. But I think these things are worth checking out. Basically, the idea it gets into is that NATO was sold the bill of goods that you'll actually be a world power. You'll be on the world stage, if you beat up Russia. And of course, you're really part of NATO and EU. Like, we know that, right? So we're going to just beat up Russia through you. It's a proxy war of a singular, of a unipolar versus a multipolar world. They weren't very smart to go along with it. They were corrupt in Ukraine, but also the NATO generals, it makes a good point here. Rather than look at the battlefield legitimately, like, can we actually do this? Can the NATO forces do this? And etc. It was jingoism, as he said. It's like they had an ideology, they had ego. They just basically they took they're using a country as a grounds for a proxy war, killing like so many people. On both sides, but more Ukrainian forces than Russian for sure. And anyway, guys, it's a sad story, but truth's coming to light, and a lot of old monsters like this are probably, their days are numbered. We can only hope. This is one, I'll just skip this story. It's too cynical. I don't want to share it. I'm just going to skip that one. Here's a good one. It doesn't matter if you're a lefty or a righty. Representative Gates' bill would pull U.S. troops out of Obama's war in Syria. It's not really Obama's war. It's just a globalist war of empire. And it actually is very directly related to the Ukrainian conflict. The same people who brought you this conflict in Syria that we're stuck in brought you Ukraine. Yes, I believe he's a conservative. Yeah, he's a Republican out of Florida. Not surprising. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We're seeing a shift in the world right now, and a unipolar shift really towards that. We're seeing a change. We're seeing like monsters like Victoria Nuland have to defend themselves, and this is giving an opportunity for people who would like to see like their children have a future, like this guy, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's just an egomaniac who sees an opportunity for power and a good political angle, whatever. Still, this wasn't possible until recently. And I'm all about pull the troops out of Syria. Yes, Syria is its own problem. Leave Assad alone, because we're kind of fighting a proxy war against Russia as it is already in Syria. We don't need any more of those. Just let the unipolar world become the unipolar world. Just acknowledge it. The multipolar become multipolar. It's just the way it is now, folks. Russia tells UN that Ukraine crisis is a war with the West for survival. This is a good article on Zero Hedge, and I'll just share it in live chat if anybody has interest. I think it's very powerful, and it's just basically there's a lot of good stuff going on, and like you see here, you see people. This was but also addressing the council as outside experts were American economic economist Jeffrey Sachs and Ray McGovern, a former CIA analyst and author. Okay, said it twice. They made compelling cases during their presentations, saying that Seymour Hersh's report is accurate also on account of recent statements from U.S. officials, because, of course, they said they were going to do it, and they said they were happy about it. Remember that tweet, "Thanks, America," from somebody? Anyway, a lot's going on. This world is changing, and I think really, we can blame the PCE numbers if we want, but today's market also is directly in relationship to this, a unipolar world becoming a multipolar world. It's going to happen. It's already happened. This is just the fallout from it happening, and it ain't going to change. So Bitcoin truth seekers, remember, for every Bitcoin Satoshi you own, it's an absolute optimistic view on the future of humanity. You believe in a utopian future, a sci-fi future, something beautiful. I do, and I think it's really important to keep after that. Humanity's worth something. It's a beautiful thing. These, monsters, like, did I still have her picture up? No, I dumped it, but you know what I'm talking about. That glorious lady. Anyway, we're punching these globalists in the nuts. So keep on stacking those sats and chill. It's a beautiful day. I think the market's probably going to begin turning around. I think this weekend could be either one to sit it out, or definitely catch some mad gains when all start recovering, especially if Bitcoin starts recovering. If it gets above that 4-hour 200 moving average, if it actually breaks above that, get ready. Some alts are going to soar. Take care.